What's the story, everyone? Welcome back to GAA Fan TV. I hope the form is good. I hope the form is well. As we very well know, the championship was back at the weekend, and we had a whole host of big talking points, big action, some controversies, and certainly some topics of conversation that definitely got us all talking at the weekend. We had the likes of Roscommon turning over Mayo in their own backyard, New York getting a famous result and win versus Leitrim. And of course, even Clare getting a win over Cork as well. We're going to be reacting to what people have to say on social media. I suppose long-term subscribers will know that every now and again, I like to have a look on Twitter and like to have a look on social media to see what various supporters, fans, ex-players and journalists have had to say about a very busy weekend of action. We're going to have a look at some post-match comments from the likes of Kevin McStay and Davy Burke. We're going to be having a look at some of the full-time match scenes when New York got that famous win over Leitrim. And we're also going to be looking at some, I suppose, a topic of conversation I never thought I would have to discuss, unfortunately, on this channel. But that was the absolute scumbag that racially abused Lee Chin. And yeah, unfortunately, we do have to address it. I mean, it's something we obviously wish we didn't have to talk about, but yeah, just absolutely disgusting scenes, obviously, between a challenge match between Wexford and Tipperary. And yeah, just very, very disappointing to see that happen at a GAA match. Never thought we'd actually have that day, but here we go. But anyway, we're going to be reacting to everything. We're going to be seeing what the people had to say. So let's get into it.
Kevin, a fierce turf battle. How did you see that yourself?
Tough game, Damien. And we were in it right till the end until I think it went to 4 then, and then the game was dead. But well, first I would say well done, Roscommon. Absolutely deserved winners on the day, but our guys never stopped trying, brought the game right to the end. And early, it's when I reflect now, it's small margins again. We had a sense that if we could keep Roscommon out of the goals department, the game might run for us. And we got two early chances that we didn't take, and Roscommon got 2 early chances they did take. And then that gave them a bit of cushion to play the game plan they wanted, and they executed it really, really well. So hats off to them, and I hope that they have a good night, enjoy themselves.
And you have to commend Kevin McStay actually for his reaction to that defeat. We've seen plenty of Mayo supporters and fans, and even some people have messaged me privately to say that it was one of the worst refereeing performances that they'd ever seen. And we will discuss that in today's show a little bit, because to be honest with you, I didn't see a whole lot that the referee did wrong. I think he got 1 or 2 half decisions wrong, but nothing that completely changed the outcome of the game, in my opinion. And Mayo lost fair and square. They lost by 4 points. Even like maybe 1 or 2 frees could have went their way or in that kind of regard, but it wouldn't have changed the outcome of the game. It would not have changed the outcome of the game. And fair play to Kevin McStay here. He's acknowledging, like, he's taking responsibility. And I think if you're a Mayo fan, this is good to see, because you don't want to see your manager blaming, coming out and blame. And to be fair, Kevin McStay, very, very classy man, always takes defeat on the chin. Former Roscommon manager as well. Good relationship with the Roscommon fans, in fairness. So fair play to him. He took responsibility, and I think that is what you want to see when you see your manager post time, not making excuses, take the defeat on the chin, and fair play to Kevin McStay.
What do you have to say about it, I suppose, is the first question I'll ask you.
Probably still not coming around full, Damien, but yeah, brilliant win. Delighted for that group of Roscommon people. Unbelievable. They're as talented as I've ever worked with, and as genuine as I've ever worked with. So I'm just absolutely delighted with them.
You made a comment to me a few weeks ago that the step up to Division 1 was so tactical. Can you just give us an insight into the tactical approach that your side made today? Because you could tell that every play was structured, every move was kind of thought about.
Yeah, it's a game of control at this level. You've noticed everyone's playing the same way. Then it's purely about control. And I think there's one thing we have is we have talented footballers who don't give the ball away. It's about good decision making, and that's really what I go after. It's good decision making, more and more and more. And like Niall Daly and David Murray, you watch how often them boys give the ball away. They don't, which is obviously why they're playing at this 10 years at this level. You know.
You have to trust everybody from your goalkeeper up with possession as well. Just in terms of, I mentioned before the game, Davey, about getting goals, and how important were those 2 first half goals, particularly the one closest to the break?
Huge. I felt we were on top, even though we were against the breeze. I still felt we were on top. I thought we were controlling the game quite well. But yeah, Kieran Lennon made a great cut, and Owen McCormick found him, and Donny then tapped into a net. So we really delighted. We hadn't gotten huge amount of goals, so I'm delighted we got a break for ball, you know.
And in the second half.
And I think something about Davy Burke, he just speaks so well. He's such an intelligent man when it comes to Gaelic football. So young as well. I mean, you look at this guy's CV in Gaelic football. Won an under-20 All-Ireland with Kildare. I think he won a league title. Was it with NUI Maynooth as well, from what I heard. Obviously done very well as Wicklow manager as well. Got them into Division 3 and kept them there. Kept them there for a season. So, with that famous win versus Cavan, as we remember, in a Division 3 relegation playoff a couple of years back. So, and now he's gone into Roscommon and he's just galvanised the whole county, absolutely galvanised them. And when you look at how well tuned, how well coached, how well structured this Roscommon side are, I think you have to give hats off for Davy Burke for making such an impact so quickly. And do you know what? Like, I'm looking at Davy Burke, I'm looking at his passion on the sideline, and it's very Rory Gallagher-esque. Fair enough, he's not doing the whole spitting on the hands thing. Fair play. I think we don't want to see more of that. But on the sideline, the passion, the hunger, and the energy he's bringing, and I think it's great to see this new sort of breed of young GAA managers adding life to the game, adding excitement to the game, and that's something that Davy Burke has brought. And I think hopefully we can see more of it through the years as well. And what was interesting from Davy Burke as well, he didn't say it in this interview, but I think he was speaking with RT Sport maybe after the game, and he was talking about the disrespect that was shown towards Roscommon leading into the game. Now, to be honest with you, I didn't really see much disrespect towards Roscommon. A lot of people were back in Mayo, and, including myself and a few others that I've seen. I think I've only really seen Roscommon fans. I didn't really see many neutrals back Roscommon. Now, to be fair, I don't think many people said that Mayo would walk this game or win comfortably or win by 7 or 8 points. I think most people said that this could be a very, very close game. It could go to extra time. I predicted a 1-point victory for Mayo. So, it was always going to be a very, very tough and close game. And I'm not too sure if Roscommon were hugely disrespected coming into it. But you can see what Davy Burke is doing there. And we've seen all the great managers, all the great GAA teams create that siege mentality, that sort of us against the world type feeling. And I'm sure he was saying to the lads during the week, and the Roscommon lads were probably saying to themselves that there has been disrespect towards them. Maybe there has. I just haven't personally seen it. But, you're looking at it and you're looking at Davy Burke creating that mentality, creating that sort of togetherness within themselves. And there's a real bite about Roscommon. And to be honest with you, I'd probably nearly give them the edge over Galway as well, to be perfectly honest. They beat Galway a couple of weeks ago. And obviously we'll preview that game, when it comes up in a couple of weeks' time. But personally, I would give Roscommon a serious, serious chance at actually going and beating Galway and winning this Connacht title. And, beating Mayo in their own backyard, that's, that could be one of the biggest wins and possibly a big springboard for what might be about to come for Roscommon, in my opinion.
On Mayo then, Paul, and what this means for them, because as Sean said, look, there's a long season there yet.
There is a long season, and I would see it as an opportunity for them. I've been questioning the value of the provincials this year, and there is no blueprint to winning an All-Ireland in the current structure. It's brand new, so we don't know what the right way to do this is. Mayo can use this as an opportunity when they do regroup. Take the block now to do a bank of work and be ready for the group stages where it's really, really important.
The only thing I would say is that Paul mentions the value in the provincials. I do feel there's still value in Connacht and Ulster because there's teams that are going to go for it, and winning those provincials will be success for them.
And they make some interesting points there about Paul Flynn and Sean Kavanagh on the Sunday game last night. I think it is interesting with the provincials because if we have a scenario where Roscommon get beaten by Galway, and as I said, I give Roscommon a huge chance going into that game, but if they were to get beat by Galway, it would actually make the win versus Mayo, although it's great for bragging rights and it's a championship win, it's a win in the Connacht Championship, will go down in the history books, a win in Castlebar. in the context of this year's championship season, it actually won't mean anything, because Mayo and Roscommon will both go in as pot 3 teams. They'll go into the same pot, and like Roscommon could well get a tougher group than what Mayo could get. And that's what makes the sort of scenario around the pots. You'd wonder maybe should the semi-finalists of provincial championships be pot 3 teams, and should the beaten quarter-finalists be pot 4 sides. I know then you're devaluing the National Football League a little bit there, but I think it's a little bit unfair on Roscommon, in my opinion, in that regards. And as we said before, like the fact that Mayo, like in previous seasons, Mayo would now go into the qualifiers, which would have been very difficult, because you're looking at it and thinking one of Tyrone Monaghan is going to go in there, and possibly some good Ulster teams will possibly go in there. Cork would have been in there. You would have fancied Mayo to still make a run through the qualifiers. They tend to do quite well in the qualifiers, but it's a little bit different this year. And the break, the long layoff for Mayo, some could say it could be too long. I think 6 weeks is what they have. That is a long time. But at the same time, it's a chance to de-wind and take a bit of a break, which could stand to Mayo by the time those group stages and big championship games come around later in the summer.
Don't over-exaggerate this or take anything away from Roscommon. The conditions played a part in how the game was played. Roscommon sit, they're started out very early, kept one up front, Ben O'Carroll, 40 men behind the ball, and they were happy to hold possession there in that first half. And they were trying to get a high press on at times, and they got a few turnovers from it. But Roscommon were just happy to hold that ball. They used a keeper a lot, happy to hold the ball for long periods of time. I suppose wind down the clock, keep the score as low as they could. And like I said, the 2 goals had a huge bearing on that first half. Mayo just lacked kind of any bit of, I suppose, intensity, bit of pace, any ideas up front. I think they had one definite goal chance, one probably half goal chance. If that hand pass from Ryan goes to Tommy's hands, you'd imagine it's in the back of the net. 5 wides, but they're kind of pot shots from maybe 40 yards out.
Why did they look so lax up top?
I don't know.
Because in the spring it was different. We were seeing a dynamic Mayo attack with 4 or 5 different ways of moving the ball forward.
Yeah, it's hard to know. But like again, I don't know, is McHale Park a factor? I mean, you go back throughout the years, Mayo have never really performed very well here in Championship. 2019 was probably similar. Even the league games, we probably wouldn't have had the best records here at home. Then you look when we go to Croke Park, we always seem to play our best football up there. I don't know, it's the bigger pitch, the faster pitch seems to suit the players. Again, it's hard to put your finger on it. Look, if that was knockout championship, would we have seen different Mayo today? You'd like to think so. But yeah, like I said, we just probably had that bit of hope coming into this week that it was a bit different this year for Mayo. But look, lots of questions at this stage. But like I said, hopefully it's that kind of kick up the backside that they need.
Yeah, and it was an interesting take there from Keith Higgins on Off the Ball. By the way, make sure to check out Off the Ball. Make sure to check out RT Sport, the Sunday game, if you haven't already. Obviously, sharing these clips out. So hopefully no one has a problem with this. But to be fair, free exposure, and they are on Twitter, in fairness. So it's not like I've taken these from the TV or anything like that. But there we go. But yeah, some interesting points there by Keith Higgins. I think he spoke very well. Interesting as well, like Mayo's record in Castlebar in the championship. It isn't great, is it? It definitely is not great, and especially against Roscommon in the last couple of years. And it's weird. Like I feel like a lot of the time with a lot of Connacht sides, they seem to be better away from home than home. Like Roscommon's record at the Hyde in the last couple of years in the championship hasn't been particularly brilliant. Galway, to be fair, have been quite strong in Pearse Stadium a couple of times, but they have suffered defeats there. So I don't know what it is with some of the Connacht sides at home. Like, is there maybe a bit of a voodoo there when they're playing at home? But as Higgins said, like, there was definitely a bit of a different feeling about Mayo going into this game. There's been a good bit of hype about Mayo, but I think the hype has been correct hype because of the fact that how well they've done in the league. But definitely a massive reality check. And would Mayo have played as poorly if it was knockout championship? I'm not sure, as Keith said. But I think at the same time, there's a lot of work to be done for Mayo. And, some people had them as favourites. Some people said, Kerry and Dublin are still the favourites. All of a sudden now with Mayo, they have a long way to go, a long, long way to go if they do want to win the All-Ireland. And look, that is the main one. If Mayo go on to win the All-Ireland, they won't give a rat's about this defeat. Let's be perfectly honest.
The Diarmuid Murta point, that was the point of the game, because Diarmuid O'Connor had tried to buy a free. The ref was having none of it. Mayo were really putting pressure on. Then Roscommon won it back and Conor Cox won it, and he tried to buy a free and the referee was having none of it. It reminds you of a hurling game, lads. Like, I mean, when the referee lets things go like that, it really adds to the flow of the game, and it can make a game really, really exciting. Like, these are just passages of play without any whistles, Conan, any stops. lads throwing their body on the line defending, referee letting it go. It's not soccer. You don't blow every bloody contact. And I just thought that was fantastic. And I was delighted because he started the game, the same referee, with the softest.
And yeah, you know what? I wouldn't always agree with Colin Parkinson and some of his takes, and even him talking about Andy Moran, which we'll get onto a little bit later on. But I think I think he was right about this. Like I didn't really see a whole lot that the referee did wrong in this game. Like it was a very physical game. There was a lot of challenges flying in. I think there's been a lot of stop-start games in the National Football League. You look at the final, for example. You know, Mayo only scored 4 points from play that day. I think there was a lot of soft frees, given both ways. I know a lot of people have said, you know, criticised me for saying Mayo got soft frees that day, but I think it worked both ways. But in this game, it was allowed to flow. And to be fair, there wasn't too many moments I think the referee actually got wrong. Like I think there was 2 moments where, you know, Aidan O'Shea wins 2 balls on the hop, or 2 hot balls. I don't really know what he was supposed to do there. To be fair, I think Aidan O'Shea was wrongly penalised, and I think the referee did get them decisions wrong. But in saying that, there wasn't a whole lot else off the top of my head that I think the referee got wrong. And you know, we'll have a look in a minute at some tweets in regards to some of the decisions and the referee not being happy. But generally speaking, I thought the referee did a fairly decent job, and I would much rather referees allow games to flow and allow, you know, not hugely over the top heavy challenges being thrown in, but I think at the same time, you know, because let's not forget as well, Aidan O'Shea dished out that heavy hit towards the end of the match. Could have very well been a yellow, possibly even more. So, like, I think a lot of Mayo fans giving out about the referee, they maybe can count themselves a little bit lucky that Aidan O'Shea didn't get a red there and a possible suspension going into the group stages. But there we have it. Blake Forkin says here, he's the worst referee I've ever witnessed. Stop the game every 5 seconds to talk to someone and do nothing. Pulled Mayo for everything he could think of. Did nothing about Roscommon time management, which was brilliant from them. Back down a level for him, not near it. And that was in response to Enda McGreary's tweet, who said Mooney having an absolute nightmare, but not the reason Roscommon won. And it's exactly the point. Like, Roscommon won by 4 points. It wasn't like they shaded it by a point. You know, it wasn't a smash and grab. I've seen some people say that. Roscommon were superb. They won by 4 points. They won fair and square. It was a comfortable, like, it wasn't hugely comfortable, but it was, you know, going into the final 10 minutes or so, you just looked at the way the game was going and you didn't see a way back for Mayo. So yeah, like I don't know what it is. I don't know why there was such a big fuss about refereeing decisions. Like, a lot of people giving out about the referee, but not really saying what he done wrong. Like the whole Roscommon time management thing, didn't really see too much of that, to be honest with you. You know, I even see it work both ways. Like Colm Reap took a long time over a 45. And to be fair, what was there? There was 6 minutes added on. So, you know, like there wasn't meant to be too much more added on there. So, yeah, definitely some interesting takes on the referee, in fairness. Just running through some other tweets from people in regards to the games of the weekend. Joe Raleigh says, welcome to Championship Football. Roscommon have the stuff. Connor Noonan says, Davy Burke masterclass, huge work rate and tackling, always part of the teams he works with. But the difference he has brought to Roscommon's game management and control from the All-Ireland quarter-final against Clare last year and today is poles apart. It is. And look, like Roscommon, we're slowing the game down at times, but all the great teams do that. You know, Dublin have done it in the past, and you know, we've seen Tyrone do it in the past. We've seen the great Armagh side of 2003 do it. We've seen Kerry do it. All the great sides have a bit of dark arts in them, you know, and it's probably something maybe that Mayo have not had, and maybe that's why they've never quite got over the line in winning an All-Ireland title. You know, so like you look at Roscommon and you look at the way they did manage the game. I thought it was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant. They kept the ball for large parts, and you know, they had a system, they had a tactic, and it worked, you know, from start to finish. And you know, Davy Burke got it absolutely spot on. And I think Kevin McStay, just a lot of, you know, a little bit naive with the approach towards the end of the game, trying to keep running it through the middle. The message should have got onto the players, kick it into the square, start kicking it long more, mix it up a bit, because it was becoming way too one-dimensional. And it started to become very easy for the Roscommon defence to read what Mayo were doing in terms of attack. But look, that's just my opinion. But you know, be curious to see what some of you lads say in the comments down below. Stephen Poacher says, unbelievable win for the Rossies. A real defensive animal today. a lot of talk about younger players coming through, etc. But it's the old dog for the hard road today. Dave Murray, it's the Smith and German Murta. The Smiths and German Murta, absolutely outstanding. Yeah, German Murta had an extraordinary performance. And Big Tony Smith coming in. What a performance from him. Enda Smith was absolutely sensational as well. For all the praise about Roscommon's younger guard, it's the older guard, that really did come good yesterday. And I think that will give Roscommon fans a lot of hope as well. Like, you've got, a blend of younger lads coming through, but you've got experienced players in there who've won Connacht titles and have won big games in the past. And, that could stand for Roscommon further in the year. It really, really could. John Corley says, how the Kildare County Board rejected Davy Burke not once but twice. I'll never know. Yeah, absolutely madness there. I don't know if did Kildare actually reject Davy Burke. Is that actually true? I always just got the feeling that maybe Davy Burke didn't fancy it, but yeah, if that is true, that's absolutely madness. To be perfectly honest with you, like when you look at Kildare, who could possibly end up in the Tailteann Cup this year, and Roscommon are dark horses for the All Ireland. Now, at the start of the year, I think everyone said that Roscommon have a much stronger team than Kildare, but let's not forget this time last year, or about 12, 15 months ago, Kildare were a Division 1 side, very competitive, and Roscommon were in Division 2, and we weren't even sure if they'd get out of Division 2. They weren't even favourites to get out of Division 2 last year. So, when you look at it, if Davy Burke had gone into Kildare, I'd be curious to know people's takes, and even Kildare fans, would Kildare have gotten out of Division 2 this year? Probably not, but I think they would be looking very good going into the Leinster Championship. Look, when it's all said and done, I think Davy Burke will eventually manage Kildare. I think it's every man's dream to manage his own county at some point, and I think it eventually will happen. But yeah, I'm sure there's people within the Kildare County Board who are probably looking at it and thinking, how on earth did we get this wrong? Because it's hugely backfired. Niamh Thornbury says, okay, I'm a little confused and I'm not having a go at Mayo here. I'm just curious, what are the benefits of being a Division 1 team and reaching your provincial final? It's an interesting point. It is an interesting point. And I think, when we look at the championship structure, like when we know at the end of the year, we won't really know until the end of the year how it's benefited teams. Is it a good thing that Mayo have got knocked out by Roscommon for Mayo in terms of they'll have a long break? Or could it be a hindrance with the fact that the break is almost too long, So we won't really know, to be perfectly honest, until the story is all said and done. But I think for a county like Roscommon to get to a provincial final and win a provincial title, provincial titles have come a lot of the time for Mayo and Galway in the last sort of 10, 15 years. For Roscommon, they haven't. Pre-2019, I think they'd won one in the previous 30 years or something like that. They haven't come very often. So I think it's probably a little bit different for Roscommon. But from a Mayo perspective, yeah, it'll be interesting to see, will it benefit them or will it go against them later in the year? Joe Brawley, who always loves a good pop at Mayo, he says, as Philly McMahon wrote in Sunday's Irish Independent, we do not know yet if Mayo have the stuff. If I were them, I would go down to the Moy and fire those shiny league medals in the river, then get ready for war. I mean, it might look a little bit unusual if you've a full Mayo squad just firing league medals into the river. A bit of pollution there for the poor river as well, in fairness. But obviously, he doesn't mean it literally. It is a metaphor. And I do completely get his point. And I think, in fairness to Mayo, I don't think there was no parade for the league title. They won the league. They went straight home. I don't think there was a huge amount of fuss even from their supporters. It wasn't like, they had a huge welcoming or anything like that. Mayo fans and Mayo players, supporters, management know that at the end of the day, the All-Ireland is the one that they want. Mayo could win the league for the next 6 seasons. And if they didn't win an All-Ireland in the next 6 seasons, sure, winning the league 6 years in a row is a huge achievement, probably never been done before. But at the same time, people will always look and judge Mayo on the All-Ireland. And I'm sure the Mayo players are very aware of that. I'm sure they are. So although Joe Brawley's making a good point here, I think Mayo are very well aware of what's facing them further down the line, in my opinion.
Hey, fucking China, man. Hey, fucking China, man. You start.
Yeah, Yeah, I think we get the whole gist of it there. I don't think we need to show any more of that video, in fairness. And disgraceful, shocking, disgusting, scumbag behavior. I think that person should never set foot near a GAA pitch again, in my opinion, unless there's proof of rehabilitation, there's proof of attending some sort of education around understanding, understanding the need to not be, understanding racism, understanding, what you can and cannot say. And just absolutely disgraceful and disgusting that this has happened. And this has happened. And unfortunately, we're seeing a lot more scenes now in the GAA at matches, club matches, county matches, and much, much more. We're seeing this happen more and more. And, I think this is the first time I've seen, racist abuse dished out to an inter-county player and it caught on camera. There's been, players who've actually spoken in the past about racism instances that have occurred on Gaelic football pitches in the past, some ex-players and whatnot, but just absolutely disgraceful. And, Lee Chin, like what a guy he is, like, and what a figure he has been for the GAA, and what a player he's been, an icon, one of Wexford's greatest ever hurlers, in my opinion. And for something like that to be said to him, absolutely disgraceful. This is a challenge match as well. Like, what are you doing? Look at your life, look at yourself. Go seek education. Go to do what you have to do. You know what I mean? Like, that person should be waking up on Monday morning, this morning, bank holiday, probably not in work, and thinking, how can I become a better man? How can I improve myself? Because to be doing that, to be saying that, is just disgusting. And, I think we're having a problem in the GAA at the moment where, fights are breaking out in stands, and, people are dishing out really, really bad abuse online, on social media, and people are dishing out racist abuse. And I'm sure it's not the first time it's happened, and it probably, sadly, won't be the last time it happens. And it's becoming a hard thing to police, because how do you stop fans attending these games, or how do you stop these scumbags from attending these games? It's very, very hard to police. It's very, very hard to police. And it's, we're having a scenario, and we're going into dodgy territory now, where GAA games are now going to become a little bit like what we see in League of Ireland matches and in soccer matches, where there's a huge police presence, there's stewards everywhere, fans are segregated, and people aren't allowed to interact with each other from other fan bases, shall we say. And that's always one thing that has made the GAA unique, is that you can go to a game, you can go to a Dublin Laois, on Hill 16. Although we say it's Hill 16 is Dublin only, plenty of times down the years you've got Kerry fans on there. You go in the Cusick stand, there could be two matches on. You could have a Derry fan sitting beside a Wexford fan sitting beside a Fermanagh fan, if those teams are on that day, for example. So, we're going into very, very dodgy territory, and I just hope, the authorities clamp down on this. I hope, fines are dished out, and, there's the authorities seek action, because this is just absolutely disgraceful. And fair play to Lee Chin for addressing this, for, going over to this person, this scumbag. And, what more can you say? And fair play, the game was called off, and both sets of players walked off, from what I heard. The right action was taken, and fair play for both sets of managements and teams and everything else for approaching this the right way. But absolutely disgraceful, and just shocking. And yeah, hopefully that the authorities come down on this, because, we're going into slippery territory in the GAA, in my opinion.
New York are the winners of the Connacht, first time ever.
There we have it. To be fair, I think the person who was recording that might have actually been a Leitrim fan, because there was the people around them weren't really celebrating and looked more in shock than anything else. And I did hear it go on Leitrim, but there were some of the full-time scenes between New York and Leitrim. Obviously, New York winning a championship game for the very first time in their history, and just absolutely iconic in more ways than one for New York GAA to actually go and pull that off. And even looking at some of their, we'll actually have a look at some of their tweets as well here, whilst the game was going on, and we'll see here penalties. You're lying if you say you predicted this. And to be fair, I don't think anyone did predict it. Definitely didn't see anyone predict it. Wilds, that was another tweet they put out. New York first kick saved by Leitrim. History made as well. So definitely the New York GAA admin definitely enjoying themselves, putting up a couple of different tweets there. But yeah, just seeing the full-time scenes there, like, you know, absolutely iconic. Seeing the supporters run onto the pitch, seeing the players hug and embrace, and even seeing some of the images of Shane Carty looking hugely emotional. Obviously native New Yorker, but played for Dublin for a good couple of years. Just iconic, absolutely iconic stuff. And yeah, seeing him line out and seeing him put in that performance was brilliant. And what an occasion and what a day to be from New York, for, you know, to have any affiliation with New York GAA, and what an occasion for those supporters and for those players. And I said during my match reaction, it's something that we may never see again. And look, hopefully we don't. You know, hopefully New York can go from strength to strength. But wow, like what a day, and what an occasion, and hopefully we do see it again. Just running through some tweets. Aaron Cunningham said, as much as New York GAA should be praised and congratulated, Leitrim GAA should be embarrassed and ashamed, and the standard of penalty kicks was atrocious too. Why did I like this? I don't know why I like that, but there we go. Sometimes you like things by accident. Yeah, like I just disagree. I completely disagree with that take. Like, I don't think Leitrim should be ashamed and embarrassed. I think that's very, very far-fetched. I don't think any team should ever be ashamed after losing a game of Gaelic football. Like, you're ashamed. Like, for example, what we see in that whole Lee Chin incident, that person who said that remark, they should be ashamed. They should be embarrassed. Leitrim should not be ashamed and embarrassed. You're playing a game of Gaelic football, an amateur sport, and you lose after 70 minutes, 90 minutes, and penalties as it was. It is what it is. It is what it is. And as I said before, I don't get all the hate around Leitrim, to be honest with you. I know a lot of it is aimed at Andy Moran because he's a former Mayo footballer, but I just don't really understand all the hate around Leitrim, to be perfectly honest. I find it very, very poor, because at the end of the day, it's a young Leitrim side. It's a team who made a long journey over to New York, a New York team that was a lot better than what we had anticipated, and they lost on penalties. You know, it wasn't like they were beaten by 6, 7, 8 points. Maybe then you could say Leitrim were quite disappointing or really, really poor on the day, but I really believe that Leitrim, you know, it was just they just didn't quite get over the line. Maybe they deserve some criticism, but not this level of criticism. This is a shocking take, to be perfectly honest with you. GAA spare tickets is only getting around to watching the Sunday game now. The highlights of New York v Leitrim were a shambles. Yeah, it was really, really disappointing to see that they barely showed the game. And do you know what the thing is? Do you know what it is about the Sunday game now? Do you know what I think happens with the Sunday game? I think what they do is they get around, you know, the production team, and I'm not too sure how it works, obviously, but whoever is in charge of the Sunday game, they probably set out their agenda on Wednesday and Thursday, probably on Friday, and they think, right, we'll show 10 minutes of New York versus Leitrim, we'll show half an hour of Mayo versus Roscommon, because that's, you know, Mayo Roscommon is going to be probably one of the games of the weekend. We'll show, you know, a short clip of Sligo London, because Sligo are going to beat London. And then we'll chat, you know, we'll have the lads on to chat about the hurling for half an hour, even though they barely showed any of the game as well. It was bizarre. So I think they looked at it and thought, well, Leitrim will beat New York, so we won't need to show that game. We won't need to show that much of it. Do you know what I mean? But New York beat Leitrim, so they should have shown more. It was a bit like the Louth scenario, where they never showed Louth because they never anticipated Louth in the league to do as well as they did. So, yeah, I don't know. I think whoever is in charge of the production around production maybe is the wrong word, the scheduling or the format of the Sunday game, I think needs to look at themselves and really make a change, because, yeah, you got to be showing more of it. You got to be showing more of it, in my opinion. GAA edit says, history, New York have won their first ever Connacht Senior Football Championship game following their penalty shootout win over Leitrim in Gaelic Park. After an enthralling encounter, they will meet Sligo in the semi-final. It It'll be hard sleep after that. And I'd be curious to know, what do you think with the New York lads? How long do you reckon they were out on Saturday night after that win? I'd say a few of them probably only waking up on Monday, to be fair. Aidan Tierney, I think it's high time New York was split into, to be fair, you know, when you look at it, Leitrim, very small population, New York, huge population. There we go. But yeah, there we have it. Really unofficial. Kildare says, of all the crap that's on TV on Saturday night, would it have killed RTE to have the New York game on for once? Yeah, like, I mean, it was on GAA Go. It was on GAA Go, to be fair. But obviously you have to pay €12. So, you know, yeah, it's a little bit frustrating. But yeah, you know, well, why not have it on RTE? Like, there's probably nothing else to be shown, to be perfectly honest. And, you know, there would have been there definitely would have been stingy people out there who would have looked at, and stingy is probably a bit harsh, but there would have been a lot of people out there who would have seen €12 and said, nah, Leitrim probably going to beat New York, I'll leave it. You know, but yeah, well, it'd be great to have it on RTE, but we know what RTE's like. They probably would have messed it up, to be fair. New York GA says every woman and child here. Yeah, I think half the population of New York was at the game. Billy McMahon says, I can see it already, reeling in the years. New York GA make history. 2023. Sligo up next. Thomas Niblo, can we get them into the Ulster Championship? BB Sport and Northern Ireland on tour. To be fair, if New York beat Sligo, there's gonna, you know, they are gonna go into the group stages, and they could very well, it's increased because of the amount of Ulster teams that are going to be in the All Ireland series. They will be surely drawn with one Ulster side, and they'll surely be making that trip to Monaghan, Derry, Tyrone, whoever it may be, and who knows, maybe they'll get a home game against one of those sides as well. So it could happen. It definitely could happen. Now, obviously, as we were saying, there has been plenty of people really dishing it out to Andy Moran. I've liked a lot of these tweets here, but that was mainly just to bookmark them so we can unlike them now. Probably a few people see me liking loads of angry tweets about Andy Moran if people follow me on Twitter earlier. So usually what I have to do, unfortunately, is like the tweets just to bookmark them. It is really annoying, but there we go. Finster said, hopefully Andy Moran will get the Mayo manager's job soon and carry on a strong tradition. Yeah, a bit of banter, I suppose. That is a little funny. We'll give you that. That's a little funny, in fairness. Cynical GA guy says, how did Andy Moran get appointed as a great manager? Get anointed as a great manager, super player, but with a load of dots. I don't think anyone ever said that Andy Moran is a great GA manager. I think they just said he's a young, upcoming football manager, and I don't think anyone ever said he was great, to be honest with you. So there we go. GA Corner says Andy Moran next Wednesday in Carrick on Shannon as Leitrim prepare for the Tailteann Cup. Oh my God. I have to laugh at that, in fairness. I have to laugh at that. Good old Thomas Tuchel, what? I think that was him in his Mainz days as well, was it? Blake Forkin says, torn between backing the underdog and not wanting this to happen to Andy Moran. Leitrim have been absolutely cat up front and looked tired in the tackle at the back. Tripp seems to have got to them after a big league campaign. They were poor in attack. I think they had 28% accuracy. I think in shooting from what I've seen. But I do think at the same time, the Tripp and like it was difficult for them. It was a difficult occasion. Young players there as well. You know, I think they were probably just a little bit unlucky on the day. Kieran Dealey says, well, some win, New York GA. Huge congratulations. Really delighted for you all. Great game. Feel sorry for the Leitrim GA players. Tricky assignment for them travelling over. The GA needs to embrace their overseas contingent more, but that's for another day. Yeah, like, do you know what I was even thinking? It'd be great, like, if New York could be more involved in the championship or even in the league in some way. I know it's very, very hard logistically and financially. Like, you know, you couldn't have them in Division 4 because the amount of money it would cost for teams traveling over to New York and for them traveling over to Ireland. But yeah, like it's a difficult one, but I'd be curious to know what people think about that. Like, it would be great to see New York more involved in the championship, in my opinion. But there we go. Seamus Flannery says, first to lose to New York, they're an embarrassment. Every one of them should try hurling because football's not for them. And Andy Moran needs to be sacked immediately. There we go. Yeah, crazy take there in my opinion. Like Andy Moran to be sacked, really? Like, are we really calling for that? You know, is this what the GAA is now? Yeah, just absolutely madness. You know what it is? It reminds me a bit like when Steven Gerrard was manager of Aston Villa and Frank Lampard managing Chelsea, Ollie managing Manchester United. Like, a lot of people wanting them to fail because they were hugely successful players. And I'll admit, I certainly wanted Ollie to fail and Frank Lampard to fail, you know, as Chelsea. I think he will, in all honesty. But, you know, and obviously Stevie G, obviously I'm a Liverpool fan, so I wanted him to succeed, in fairness. Not with Rangers, though, touchy subject. You know, but why are we doing this in the G? You know what I mean? Like, a lot of people don't want Andy Moran to succeed because he's a famous and legendary Mayo footballer, you know, but yeah, because just a little bit strange. And I suppose we'll finish with smaller fish GA. Andy Moran is not having a good time as Leitrim manager. 2 unsuccessful promotion attempts, scraped over London last year in Championship, lost Sligo at home and Tolchin, and now loses to New York. Terry Hyland had a much bigger impact. They seem to have slipped backwards. Yeah, I disagree. Completely disagree with this as well. 2 unsuccessful promotion attempts, but the amount of players that he's lost, you know, Emlyn Mulligan's retired. Ryan O'Rourke doesn't seem to be involved in the Leitrim panel this year. I don't really know if it's an injury or what's going on there. There has been players who've left the panel, and there has been a huge turnover of players. And let's not forget that we all remember Terry Hyland's final season as Leitrim manager, where they went down from Division 3 with a whimper in many ways, and they were, I think, were they beaten by about 30 points by Mayo, and Mayo didn't even get out of second gear. Like, they were an absolute autopilot. They were playing at 50% for the entirety of the game. They probably could have beat Leitrim by about 40 or 50 points that day. And remember, everyone was saying that Leitrim, with all due respect, are probably one of the worst teams in the country in terms of footballing ability. Andy Moran's come in, and, you know, in his 2 seasons, he's got them close to promotion. He's been a little bit unlucky, like beaten by Sligo by a point. If they had won that, they would have got out of it. Beaten by Sligo on penalties in the Tailteann Cup, and now beaten in this game by penalties. Do you know what I mean? And if Leitrim were playing Sligo in the Connacht semi-final, they could have beaten Sligo. Like, there hasn't been much between them in the last couple of seasons. So I don't quite understand why everyone's gunning for Andy Moran, in fairness. You know, and I think next year and the Tailteann Cup this year is going to be when we'll really know whether Andy Moran has what it takes to succeed at Leitrim. But in my recollection, I think he is doing a good job. Let's not forget last year, Cavan and Tipperary were in Division 3. That was a very difficult division for Leitrim, and they actually nearly got out of it. So, yeah, I think we all need to hold off on some of the hate around Andy Moran. And that's coming from a Dublin fan. So there you go. But anyway, there's some tweets and reactions to the weekend's GAA action. And yeah, let me know your opinions, your comments on some of the opinions down below. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. And yeah, we'll start trying to do more of these shows on a much more regular basis, especially when there's a huge amount to talk about. We'll have a look through social media and see, you know, what people are saying. And especially as the championship goes on, there'll certainly be more talking points and more discussion needed. So there we go. Let me know your opinions, your comments in the comments down below, and I'll see you all soon.